Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And we're continuing at the Manresa Retreat Center for the St. Michael's Conference for Youth. Today is Thursday, and I thought we'd take a look at the lesson that's assigned for today from the book of the prophet Samuel. We're in the first book of the prophet Samuel. Remember, we talked at the beginning when we started reading out of Samuel about Hannah, his mother, and how she prayed to God that she would be given a child. And if in fact God would answer that prayer, she would then dedicate that child to the service of the temple. And that's exactly what happened. Samuel was born, and after he was weaned, she gave him to Eli, the high priest, who then, of course, put him to work as one of the people working in the temple. So from a very young age, Samuel, the great prophet, actually spends his time concentrating on his life, serving the Lord God in the temple worship. What we have found out in the first couple of chapters is that things are not going so well for the people of the Jews when it came to temple worship, especially when Eli's own sons were so incredibly corrupt. And so we get to this kind of pivotal reading from the third chapter where God now speaks to Samuel, and Eli realizes what is going on in Samuel's special relationship with God, which we, of course, then will read throughout the books. Chapter 3, beginning at verse number 1. And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli. And the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And it came to pass that at the time when Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of the God was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. And the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here am I. And he ran unto Eli and said, Here am I, for thou callest me. And he said, I called not, lie down again. And he went and laid down. And the Lord called yet again Samuel. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And he answered, I called not, my son, lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. Therefore Eli said unto Samuel, Go lie down, and it shall be. And if he call thee, that thou shalt say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. And the Lord came and stood and called as at the other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, Speak, for thy servant heareth. And then he goes on to give Samuel the message. So what is so important about this particular lesson? Well, for one thing, of course, it's interesting to hear that Samuel was spending all of this time in the temple, yet we hear from the Old Testament that Samuel didn't really know the Lord, that he hadn't heard a vision or a voice from him. And so we actually have a situation where Samuel has been doing the work of the Lord, but now the Lord is going to elevate him up in a special, particular way. And so, of course, that happens. What's also interesting is this idea of how he needs to have the intervention of Eli, to help him to begin to understand. Sometimes we need help from other good and holy people to help us to understand what the Lord may be saying to us, or even the fact that the Lord is calling us. I remember an episode where I was the rector of a parish in the Diocese of Pittsburgh, and during my prayer life, I kept getting a sense that I was finished. That's kind of the message I kept getting in my life of prayer was, you're finished. Now, I wondered if perhaps it meant I was going to die. I wasn't quite sure. Maybe I should get my will together. So I went and I spoke to my bishop, Bishop Robert Duncan, who at that time was the bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Pittsburgh, and I explained to him what was happening. And he said, okay, listen here, Father Kelly. I'll be Eli and you be Samuel. Next time you get that sense, you say, Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Duh, I should have known that. And sure enough, soon thereafter, it became obvious to me by God's grace that I was finished at St. Mary's in Charleroi, and that God, in fact, was calling me to St. John's Church in Detroit. So I thank God for Bishop Duncan's intervention and the fact that the Lord was very patient with me. Right? Sometimes I'm just not that smart, Lord, and I need your direct intervention in my life. I'm trying to listen, and of course that's the key for all of us, isn't it? Is that we need to be able to say to the Lord in our prayer, Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And then when we hear, we need to do. Today is Thursday, and of course, we are here at the St. Michael's Conference for Youth. It's in my Franciscan Third Order habit, not usually dressed quite like this, and we are very grateful for your continued prayers for the conference and for the blessings that God is doing for us here through this ministry. And God willing, I will see you in church on Sunday.